Welcome to round 3 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast for the week of January 20th. I'm Terry Morrow, and I'm here with Catherine Holeko.
Hello.
And Nicole Eridix.
Hi there.
We're moms of teens and young adults, and when it comes to parenting, we've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. But we're still waiting for that day when we'll reach the finish line and have no further need to lay down in a dark room with a wet rag over our eyes, worrying about something or other. Wednesday is Complaint Day here on Parenting Roundabout, and today our rant is directed at school activities that inconvenience parents. Is there any other kind? Catherine, you're the one who's dealing most with school activities at this point. What's going on?
Well, my son has taken up a high school sport, and so I'm learning all about what that entails. And for right now, what it entails is going to school by 6 a.m. every 3 days a week for practice or a workout, really.
Yikes.
And thank goodness my neighbor's son is doing the same thing, and he's driving himself. So when I contacted her and said, hey, can we carpool? She's like, oh, he's driving. He'll just keep driving. He'll just take your kid. I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Lucky.
Yes.
But I still feel like I have to get up in the morning and make sure that my son gets out the door to meet the neighbor, because it's another person's,
right.
I don't want him to be late because of my son.
Yes.
If my son were taking himself, then I would be all about the natural consequences of if you're late and you get yelled at, then perhaps you'll wake up on time in the future.
Right. But when it's somebody else's,
right, when it's someone else driving. And then just to this is really it's not the fault necessarily of the activity, but the parking situation, as I've talked about on this podcast before, at the high school is bad. And it was already bad. And then they just decided one day that all the streets around the high school, like where you live, Terry, have people parking there. You can't park there anymore.
No.
And so basically all they're going to do is push the kids to further side streets. I mean, what else are they supposed to do? There's not enough parking at the building. So... And I mean, I think this does inconvenience parents as well, because if your kid can't park,
right,
then they can't drive to school.
Yeah.
And, yes, they could take the bus, but half the time the schedules are so different.
Oh, they're awful. Yeah.
Like whether they have this early morning thing, or they have a first hour release, or they have a second, a end of the day release, so they can't take the bus home, or they can't drive their brother home like they're supposed to. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the answer is, but
I wonder who makes these decisions about parking, because they obviously don't have kids.
Well, I will tell you, they did the same thing in our neighborhood. This cul-de-sac that I am on, it's choked by parents picking their kids up, but kids can't park there. Since we moved into this, we've been here maybe 20 years or more. At some point, the neighbors circulated a petition that they wanted to make it residents-only parking, and you had to have a sticker to park there. I did not sign that petition because I didn't think it was fair. I got a driveway. I don't need to park on the street. If kids want to park on the street, that's great. There's a big condo complex across the street from us, and they have limited parking there, so people from the condos were parking on our street. I don't care. I'm in my driveway. Don't block my driveway. We're good. But the other neighbors did, and I got pretty much of a stink eye when I refused to sign it. So that's what it is. It's the people on those streets complaining to the city council vociferously enough that they get their little signs and their little stickers. Even though I would imagine that the number of people who would ask the city council to not do that would be exponentially greater. But I guess since they're not, homeowners in that area, they don't. And but I hate that. It's like, we're right next to the school. Let kids park here. The parking's limited. So instead they park all up and down the main street, which makes it difficult to turn out of our cul-de-sac. And, you've got kids walking in this big street to get to their cars. It's a mess. So That is how the decision gets made. It's not made by the school. It's made by ticked off homeowners. At least in my town.
It's right. And it's being enforced or, announced by the city police, not by the school.
Right. Yeah.
But, they're including like the side of the street that's adjacent to the school.
Right.
So
Right.
why do the homeowners care about that side of the street?
I don't know, unless it blocks them being able to drive away. I don't know.
It doesn't, I'm talking about not right in front of their house, but across the street. So they're just screwing over the people on streets slightly farther away. Is all that happens.
Yeah,
They're just pushing the problem further out.
That's right. Yeah.
Or you can they can do what our city did, and that was they took away the curb where you park, and they put in a bike lane. Like, who is going to bike? Honestly. They've taken out a lot of the streets in our downtown area used to be 2-lane.
Mm-hmm.
And they've taken out the second lane, the one closest to the curb, and they've put in a green bike lane.
Jeez.
And I'm like, how many people have I seen use that lane? 0. 0 people. Maybe, maybe once in a blue moon. But first of all, it's 100 degrees here. 5 months of the year. Who's biking in that weather? It just drives me nuts. I just think that, in their effort to be, green and conscientious, and I don't really think it's practical.
Right.
Put the money elsewhere.
Well,
no recycling bins. Nobody has recycling bins in this city.
Oh my gosh.
No recycling bins.
Yes. But the only way to fight this is to go to school board meetings and go to city council meetings and really, who wants to do that?
Exactly.
Except
zealots. And when it
zealots.
comes to the activities, I don't know what you do because, I was surprised, for example, when my son joined the show choir.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I just assumed that the rehearsals would be right after school.
Oh.
No, they're at 6 p.m. So it's a return to school later in the day. And I'm guessing they do that because of sports.
Oh, yeah.
Because if kids are in sports, then they have to go do that right after school.
Right.
So it's another one of those things every activity that your kid is in thinks that's the only thing that they do.
Right.
And that they have to, prioritize that above all else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard when kids have multiple interests.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Another, a similar yet separate complaint.
Right. Well, it's such a thing because you want your kids to be involved. You want them to do all these things. It's exciting when they get accepted or that they're able to do all these things. And then you realize, oh.
Yeah. Right. What did I just do? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
It's, and then you have to go to the activity, their games or their concerts to support them. And it becomes a thing. It takes over the family life to some degree. I don't know what people do who have 2 kids in competing things, how they divide that up.
For us, it's a lot of divide and conquer, where one parent goes one. That just happened to us this past weekend where we had one competing in 2 different things out of town and one thing that I had to handle in town and, a third thing where the kid was practicing on her own. So, you had to have 3 cars and you had to have 3 adults and 3 drivers to make it work, which, that's not realistic for a lot of people. And that's not fair to families that can't make that work,
Right.
Right.
So,
and, I don't know how it could change because they need to have the practices, they need to have the activities, you need to be able to, you can't say don't practice or have everything at the same time. That's a problem. But it really, for families, there maybe needs to be a little more. At least sitting people, do they give full disclosure when your kid signs up for the thing? This is what this is going to mean. Think now how you're going to do this.
Right. No, they definitely do not do that because then nobody would.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any coordination. And there's certainly an extreme lack of coordination between the teachers, or a disconnect between the teachers giving homework and the sports activities.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my word. It drives me crazy or it used to, when my kids were doing activities and teachers would just pile on this work and they knew that half the class was involved with other things.
Right.
So,
and they tell you that you need to be, right, for college and
right.
And
well, that's
something like the National Honor Society, I read the requirement. I'm like, I don't understand how these kids are doing this. How are you not just participating in at least 4 different things, but participating at a high leadership level and taking, all your, I don't get it. And I'm not sure. And I don't know why that we should be celebrating it, to be honest.
Right.
Like, I'm not.
It's frustrating.
I'm not bitter. I'm like, is it necessary? Why is it necessary to make that the goal? I don't.
Yeah. And then if you're going to say that these things are important, that, you want broadly well-rounded young people who've, done some volunteer work out in the world and who have, sports interest and arts interest and all this stuff, then scale back the curriculum and say, you'll learn all this stuff when you're in college. For right now, become a well-rounded person. We'll knock 2 periods off the day.
But then you get universities that are just looking at the grades anyway. They're not even looking at all the activities.
So unfair.
The kids are like, what are we doing all this for?
Yeah.
Right. Well, once again, we're always good at ranting about things that either we have no control over or we don't want to attempt to change. So,
yes.
So that'll be it for our complaining round 3 today. Tune in tomorrow when we'll obsess about long distance birthdays, and then come back on Friday to see what we've come up with for our Roundabout Roundup picks this week. Find all our episodes at parentingroundabout.com and talk back in the comments there, on our Facebook page, or on Twitter, where you'll find us at Roundabout Chat.